Hey, this is Angel the Hardcore Homo. You're listening to In Your Head. I'm going to give you some head radio. Online.
All right, we are back, and we're joined by Kris Kloss of Wrestling Society X. Welcome to In Your Head.
Hey, thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Sorry about yesterday.
No worries, no worries.
If I would have brought that up, no one would have even known.
That's right, yeah, exactly. What are you talking about? I don't even know about yesterday. What are you talking about?
All right, so how you doing, my man?
Doing good. Keeping very, very busy over here.
Mm-hmm. What are you up to right now?
Well, right now we are going over some stuff for the WSX, for Wrestling Society X, and working in conjunction with Big Vision Entertainment, where I head up the public relations department. And I'm telling you, it's just kind of a bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball from both companies here. And at the same time, we're working together. But both companies have two different aspects to them. Of course, we work together, but of course, WSX is with MTV, produced by Big Vision Entertainment, which puts out a whole bunch of different DVDs, including a lot of wrestling titles. So we're working on those as well.
Mm-hmm. Any plans to put out Wrestling Society X DVDs?
Right now we haven't even scratched the surface as far as WSX DVDs, because right now we're just focused on television at this point in time, of course, with the first season underway as we speak, and every Tuesday night and all that. So we're really just focused right now on the television product and what's going on as far as WSX TV-wise pretty much right now. But yes, in the near future, you can pretty much bank that there will be DVDs of WSX.
Well, let everybody know it's Tuesday nights at 10:30 on MTV. And you can also even watch some extra stuff on WSX.mtv.com.
Yeah, that's a show we have, and for all the people that watch Wrestling Society X 1030s, the new episodes, I know they repeat quite a bit, but all the fresh new episodes guaranteed will be on every Tuesday night at 10:30, 9:30 p.m. Central. And after every episode on www.WSX.mtv.com, there's a show there called WS Extra, and that'll feature some matches from combatants that weren't on the show that week. For example, this week you're going to see some newcomers, the Trailer Park Boys versus DIFH in tag team action. And then you're also going to see a lot of people out in Southern California know this guy, but he's synonymous quite a few different places around the world. Scorpio Sky, he'll be going against Matt Classic. Oh, yeah. And Matt Classic is going to turn some heads in the world of professional wrestling, let me tell you. Yeah, I'm looking very forward to seeing this guy.
Yeah, we've had a friend of his, Cole Caban, on the show. I think he's really high on
those
that.
Guys, they go back. Those two go way back.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, this week, this Tuesday coming up, with no exception, I mean, I've seen it, and it's the best show we've had to date, which will be this Tuesday, the third installment of WSX. I'll go over the matches for you guys. It's going to be the Trailer Park Boys taking on the Filth and the Fury. That's Matt, M-Dog 20, Matt Cross, and Teddy Hart. And then we have Jack Evans versus, get this, El Hombre Blanco Enmascarado. Oh, man. I looked up the Spanish-English dictionary. Comes out to white guy in a mask. I don't know what more to say about that. Then we have Los Pochos Guapos, Aaron Aguilera, and Chaos going against Luke and Alcatraz in a TLC match, Tables, Ladders, and Cervezas.
Oh, man.
So it's by far the best show of WSX this season, by far, up to this date.
Mm-hmm. Now, big fan of Teddy Hart. We've had him on the show as well, and Jack Evans.
Yeah, these guys are awesome. I mean, a lot of guys have been asking me questions about, what are we going to see in WSX? Why should I tune in? How long are these matches going to be? I mean, come on, you guys are only a half hour. And, I got to go back to the fact that you're going to see moves in WSX that a lot of them have been banned in other federations. Speaking of Jack Evans, the 630 splash, you really don't see that anywhere, especially in WWE, and you're going to see that, and that's just an example of a lot of these innovative moves that kind of were limited to, let's say, your Japanese or your Mexican wrestling audience. And finally, we're bringing it back here, and not to mention the explosions, of course, which are always big and synonymous in Japan. And finally, they're going to be done over here in the U.S. And, of course, Teddy Hart, the guy speaks for himself. You guys know the credentials he holds, and he's definitely a name that a lot of people are very curious in seeing what this guy can do. And so far, they've seen a lot. But this week, man, just watch. The tag match between the Trailer Park Boys and the Filth and the Fury, it just speaks for itself. It's unbelievable.
Like you're saying, that's really something you can't see anywhere. Because, like when WCW was big, that was something people really turned in to see, where the really crazy high-flying matches. And you don't see that in WWE anymore. That's pretty much their work in the WWE style when they have a cruiserweight match.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when WCW really pioneered in the United States as far as mainstream audience is concerned. They were the ones that brought over. I'm talking, let's go back to like Jushin Thunder Liger, the Great Muta. When those guys came over, WCW was the first to do it, and it was great. And they really became world championship wrestling. They weren't. It meant something then, and you started to see it, and of course WWE started to compete against that, bringing the guys over, and like a lot of things that have fallen by the wayside once WCW went out. The competition. WWE didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do a lot of things to compete against WCW, and I think that's one aspect that we have lost, is bringing some of these high-flying international guys over.
Yeah, definitely. You get a question from the board, Incher?
Vince Russo is God. He wants to know which musical guests are legit wrestling fans.
Definitely Zach Wilde. We were talking between takes, and he was talking about, going back, WrestleManias and all that, 1 and 2. He grew up in Jersey, so, wrestling, WWE specifically, was a little bit bigger back there. That was the home turf. Let's see. Pitbull, I would say. I think I was Good Charlotte. I think it was either Good Charlotte or Sparta that grew up in Texas. I really can't remember which ones, but one of those bands, it was either Good Charlotte or Sparta, were talking about, I think it was Sparta, how they were talking about how they used to go to the old Sportatorium and check out the world-class championship wrestling and, walking around the Sportatorium and rats and all. Between their legs and that filthy old dump of a beautiful building for wrestling.
Oh, I thought you meant a different kind of rats.
No. They were actually talking about the real rats. No, see, this is before they were famous, so, they didn't have the ring rats,
Oh, okay. I'll say they might have some of them between their legs, too.
No, but, they were talking about, the Von Erichs, the Freebirds, so that was pretty cool, talking to them. And, for the most part, most of the guys, they knew enough of the business, to hang up there with us. And for the most part, they were just up there enjoying it, letting us commentate the match, and they put their 2 cents in every once in a while,
You think they add a lot to the show because it's on MTV? Maybe some people who aren't wrestling fans might see those guys on the show and tune in for the rest of the program.
Yeah, I was a little. I had my reservations about it myself, and I think it worked out better than I expected because, again, when they came up there, they kind of knew their role, not to put them down at all, but they kind of knew their role. They sing, promote their album, and then when they were up at the broadcast booth, they were there letting us do our job, of course, and they would chime in every once in a while, and when need be, I would cut them off and get down to business, what was going on, and that was calling the match, and luckily, for the most part, pretty much everybody up there was cool and respected that. So, and they knew that going into it. After all, this is a wrestling show.
Do you find it easier to call the high-paced action?
You know what? I personally, I started out down here in SoCal on the indie scene before I got into XPW, which still was in Southern California, and And then in XPW, we had a lot of hardcore matches, but I think people lost sight of the fact that XPW also had a lot of high-flying matches. You know, we brought over the guys like El Salcero, Damian Halloween. You had Kid Chaos back in the day, which was great. He had good matches with Mr. 80s, Dynamite D. He had a lot of good matches, high-flying, and personally, I kind of like calling the fast-paced, fast matches. You know, being now that when I first started, I had to learn. I thought I knew all the moves, and I didn't. You know, but it didn't take long to know them. And once I really got all the moves down, I like it because I'm kind of a fast-paced, hyperactive type guy. So it kind of fits my personality to boom, 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 call those high-flying matches. But at the same time, it's apples and oranges, man. Because I also really like calling a good, you know, Japanese-style death match as well.
Right.
You know.
You ever miss Rivera?
You know what? I just saw him not too long ago in downtown Los Angeles at a roller derby event.
Oh man!
And that was you know, I saw him and I just bumped into him. A total coincidence, but yeah, I told him, you know, I do miss him. I mean, the new guy I'm working with, Brett Ernst, he's new to the business, and I do like him. Mm-hmm. But Rivera, you know, I have to admit that there was a chemistry there in the broadcast booth that I think we really hit on and touched that audiences responded to it too. And you know, to me, yeah, I'll the guy's awesome. He's awesome.
Oh yeah. Was the roller derby brutality at its most brutal?
Chico, the brutality at the most brutal, Chico. Absolutely. Actually, it was. I know, not to get off wrestling here, but we went to a roller derby event, and it's a shoot. It's all real, and it's crazy, man. These girls are like bleeding everywhere. It's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
are you surprised? Like people still remember XPW?
Well, you know what? It's funny. I mean, you know, a big vision here. We just released a DVD. It's called not to plug it or anything, but it's called After the Fall. And it kind of focuses on all the former ECW guys that came over, which is, man, pretty much the whole roster. But they focus on their first matches they had in XPW. And it's unbelievable. We really didn't promote it too much, but we've just been getting orders off the shelf. So that kind of, opened our eyes and really made us realize that, yeah, there still is a fan base out there. And, I mean, we drew big crowds. I mean, we did shows at the LA Sports Arena, the Grand Olympic Auditorium, which is a shame that and you know, Golden 3. But again, you know, when we were really impressed by how many people were ordering it. So.
Something I always had to ask is, you know, I used to watch the TV and stuff. What did crack actually do to you in that dark room?
I usually don't talk about what crack did to me in the dark room, but. Listen, I was on suspension, all right, and Rob Black had me served. I contractually did what I was supposed to do. And Rob Black was good friends with crack, and he wanted to make crack happy. But I guarantee you this, all right? And listen, you know what? I agreed to do this interview, all right? Mm-hmm. I guarantee you this. When I came back to the desk and I sat down next to Rivera, that reaction was because of my hemorrhoids. And I got rid of that problem, all right? That's all it was.
This is definitely a man.
And we're going to stop it right there, okay?
I was just like, Kris Kloss is
that agreed?
That's all right.
All right.
He's definitely a guy here that he'll take one for the team. He's a team player.
Take one for the team. Wait a minute. Let's get on this, or beyond this, okay?
All right. Let's change the subject here. Answer. You got a question from the board?
Okay. Flea, he wants to know, what was the best or worst accidental bump by Supreme?
The best or worst accidental bump by Supreme. Gosh, man, oh man. You know, it has to go. And I know which one it is, right, when you ask. But then again, there were so many of them, and of course that's why you asked the question. But it would probably have to be at XPW's Rapture at the Grand Olympic Auditorium when the Enterprise, Steve Rosano, GQ Money, Chaos. And actually, that's when Chaos turned against Supreme, his uncle. But and TJ Rush, motivational speaker, don't forget. But when they lit the table on fire, and I think they doused it with just a little too much lighter fluid.
And what happened was Steve Rosano, I believe, was the one who doused the table with lighter fluid, and I mean, he just wouldn't stop. You look at the tape, he just keeps dousing, and right as they light the table, there's just so much fluid still on the table that hadn't burned yet. Right when they lit the fluid, so much of it, about a second or two later is when they put Supreme through the table. So you still had all that fluid that hadn't burned yet. That fluid got all over the body of Supreme, and when you watch the footage, that one, by the way, was never released on home video or XPW TV. But it was on the pay-per-view. It was a clip of it was on the pay-per-view. And, yeah, Supreme was on fire. They could not get him out. Finally, the ring crew got him out. When this is something that a lot of people don't know. I don't know if it got on the video, but the geniuses that the ring crew were at the time, they go to put the table out in the ring before they put Supreme out. Just to let you know. And that was like, a lot of people were pissed. And we were sitting way up in the broadcast booth, Rivera and I. And, I mean, it was nuts, man. It was crazy. That and Vic Grimes coming off were the two craziest moments ever. But that moment, that moment, though, with Supreme was so crazy. We were sitting way up top at the Olympic, and you could smell the burnt flesh. Like when you burn your hair, whatever, you just kind of have that little smell. This smell literally filled up like at least halfway up the Olympic, and it was really scary. And it was, I mean, he's lucky, man. He really is lucky, and that was by far the worst bump Supreme or anybody I could think of or moment, that anybody had ever experienced.
Go back to Wrestling Society X. What do you think of the set?
I like it a lot. I mean, I think it's cool. It's got that dark, gritty feel. It's got that vibe to it that just kind of gets everybody in the mood. And I think that not only the fans, but I think the wrestlers themselves. When they're in the ring and they're in that atmosphere, they want to perform that much better. They're not wrestling at a high school gym. They're not wrestling at the Boys and Girls Club. They feel a little different. They got a lot of energy run through them, and I think it works, really works, and it's great for television, obviously.
Reddish, he wants to know if pinfalls count anywhere in all matches in WSX.
Yeah, they do. I mean, for the most part, they keep it in the ring, but pinfalls do count anywhere inside what we call the bunker, the WSX bunker. But yeah, they count anywhere inside the building there.
Cool. Another question there, Incher?
Let's see.
There's a lot of strange ones here from our fans.
Vince Russo is God again. He wants to know favorite wrestler to watch in XPW.
In XPW?
Let's just say both.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with XPW, I guess. I don't know. I mean, to me, I thought one of the most underrated wrestlers in XPW was Mr. 80s Dynamite D. I mean, he could put on a hell of a match. I used to love watching Homeless Jimmy.
That's a guy who is Homeless Jimmy.
Yeah. What a pop he would get. I mean, he was just like, because it's the heart, man. He's the heart and soul of XPW at the time. People were so into him. Let's see, for a big man, when he would stiff people, like when he stiffed the Insane Clown Posse, it was pretty exciting. It was Pogo the Clown.
I was just going to spring up Pogo, because I always thought that was really underrated. Like, as a worker, I thought he's really good.
Oh, yeah, man. One of the best big men in the business. I mean, he always put on... And it didn't matter if he wrestled a small guy or a big guy. He had some good matches with Crack. At big man versus big man, and he could put on a good wrestling clinic with the small guy as well. Of course, Chaos was awesome. Later on, you had guys like Chris Hamrick and Chaos. They had a pretty damn good feud. In WSX, I would have to say, I mean, I really like watching Teddy. Teddy's just awesome, man. He's an insane worker, and he's definitely dedicated to his craft. His partner's good too, M-Dog 20. I mean, they make a great tag team. I like the fact that Webb is back. I mean, he puts a good twist on the whole Trailer Park Boys angle. Don't want to just put over the XPW guys here, but Jack Evans, of course, is awesome. It's great to see guys like the Human Tornado finally get a spot, because here's a guy that's like really talented. Scorpio Sky as well. El Hombre, Enmascarado, Blanco Enmascarado. These are guys that really should get a chance to showcase themselves on a nationwide level, and finally they get that chance. So I'm just really excited that these guys are getting a shot, and which at the same time, if WSX wasn't around, I hate to say it, but more than likely these guys probably wouldn't have got a shot unjustifiably on a national level.
Right. Just because, they don't have the WWE look or, the size or whatever.
Sure.
Do you think this...
And there's only so many spots available.
Oh, right. Do you think it helps, like, the indie scene, like, people get to see this on TV, and they might be more likely to go to, like, an indie show to see that kind of wrestling?
I think so. I mean, I know we're obviously not going to be promoting indie shows throughout the WSX. It's just one of those things, that how television works. But I think the wrestling fans.
I think it did mention though, like where the guys had wrestled before when they came out.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was really happy about working on the show. Also, was one of the associate producers, and one of the things we really wanted to put across is kind of set ourselves apart from all the other wrestling companies, is talk about kind of like sports does. Talk about, like, if you're watching basketball, if you're watching football, the guys, the sports announcers, they're going to talk about where these guys came from. They're going to talk about their past, their college days, how much they average points and all this stuff. So we wanted to kind of throw that aspect into the sport of professional wrestling, kind of bring it back to the sport when wrestling used to resemble a sport. We know it's always been entertainment, but when it resembled a sport, that was the best. That's why we watch wrestling, and that was one of the things I wanted. Was what we wanted is when we put the show together, when they come to the ring now, we kind of we titles held, former promotions, PWG, IWA, XPW, we talk about the titles they held and whatnot, so it's kind of like, they made it to the big time, but we want to talk about how they got there and all that, and of course, traditionally in wrestling, you don't talk about your competition, you right. Never even mention them. They're always totally 100% irrelevant, but I think changing that with today, with the way wrestling is today, getting so far away from it resembling a sport, I think this is definitely to bring that back, and this is one way of doing that. Just talk about, again, where they've wrestled, what titles they've held, and etc.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the show being a half hour? Do you think that's good, or do you think it should be longer?
Yeah, that's one of the things, I had my reservations about it at first, and I'm happy with it now. And a lot of people, have been asking me, like, well, what are you going to do in a half hour? How are you going to get your storylines across? How long are the matches going to be? And, going back to all the other shows that are on right now, when you watch Raw or any of the other wrestling shows, their matches, even though it's a 2-hour show, their matches are going to really range average anywhere between 3 to 8, maybe 10 minutes long. That's an average. Your main event may be a little bit longer. But that's really what we're doing as well. Our matches are really not that much shorter, if not the same amount of time as a 2-hour broadcast wrestling show.
Mm-hmm.
And everything around it is kind of filler on a 2-hour show. And looking at the statistics, that's when people are changing the channel, not during the matches, but during the talking and whatnot. So, of course, studying all those stats, getting around all that, the half-hour format's not bad. And again, it's for that short attention span. No one's going to turn the channel and, okay, I'm bored. All right, I'm getting tired of this. All right, I'm going to get up and get something to eat. You really don't have time to do that. And by the time the show's over, from what we've been gathering from a lot of the feedback is, oh, man, the show's already over. Oh, I can't wait till next week. I want to see what happens. Right. Whereas, okay, it's the main event. Oh, okay, it's over.
Right, it's finally over.
I'm not saying that I do that, but the other product isn't entertaining and exciting. But I just think sometimes 2 hours is a little long. It just is. And whether it's good or not, people have things to do.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I do like the half hour. It's something new, and I think I like it. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another question from the board, Incher?
Gibber Mouther, he wants to know, what commentator do you aspire to be like?
Well, growing up, I've, I always liked watching the old World Class Championship Wrestling, and the announcer from World Class, and of course, Mean Gene. I mean, probably my favorite of all time. I'd probably got to go. It's close, but as far as play-by-play, I like Gorilla Monsoon. But aspiring to be just like somebody. Yeah, Bill Mercer. I mean, that guy was awesome. I like the guys back in the day that when you watched it, you thought you were watching like sports.
Yeah.
When I'm watching it, it's like a news broadcast. Like I want it to feel real, like I'm watching a sport, and that's what it is. I want to get away from more of the entertainment aspect of it. No pun intended, honestly, but just the whole show of wrestling is great. But I really aspire to bring it back to when it resembled a sport, and that's what I miss as a fan. As far as like trying to mimic any other announcer, I definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to find my own niche, and I think I have. I mean, I've when I first started, of course, as all of us as wrestling fans, we go off from what we've seen on TV. And in time, I think I've finally, definitely become my own brand of announcing, and I want to keep that going. But there's definitely been a great inspiration in the past. Mercer, Monsoon, Gordon Soley, the list goes on and on.
Has there anyone that like helped you in the business? Like any
well, I mean, I'm working with them now. I'll give a shout out to Bob Cadden. I mean, he's a guy that when I was younger, would take me to Slammers Wrestling Gym out in San Fernando Valley, where Ed Ferreira got his start too.
Oh, okay.
But let's see. I got a shout out. You can't forget. Very controversial guy, but hell, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. It was Rob Black, the guy who started XPW. People talk about him, but hey, bottom line is he gave us all our start. Mm-hmm. And before that, though, Dynamite D, got to give a shout out to him. Patrick Hernandez, referee Pat, and Kevin Kleinrock. These are three guys that started something out in Southern California called Southern California Championship Wrestling, SCCW. And it wasn't long I started that company. I was just the ring announcer for them. And Rob Black got one of our flyers. He just got done working with Paul Heyman at the time. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know this part of the history, but back in ECW, Paul Heyman and Rob Black were actually working together. And Rob was supplying Heyman with some girls. Jasmine St. Clair actually appeared on ECW television for a short stint. But, it was inevitable. It didn't take long for those two budding, controlling personalities to butt heads, Rob and Heyman. And, of course, Rob said, fuck it, big falling out, fuck you. And
right.
Rob, I'm gonna start my own company. Fuck it, I can do this, and the rest is history. And he actually, the story was he got one of our flyers. We were passing out in Anaheim at the Arrowhead Pond for a WWE house show. And Rob Black was there. He got the flyer. He called Kevin, and the rest is history. They together formed with the SCCW wrestlers and personalities, formed XPW, and with Rob's money and backing, we were able to get pretty big. Nowhere near as big as WSX is now with MTV, but in the wrestling world, we were pretty big at the time. No one had home videos or anything except for WWE and WCW, and we had one. And it was like, oh wow. Whereas today, everybody's got a home video. So
right.
So
we're putting one out next week.
There you go. But you know what I mean. I mean, back then it was such a different. I mean, we're talking only like 6-7 years ago.
Oh yeah.
It was such a different.
And you actually
world.
saw those. You saw them at the stores a lot too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that was for the even though we weren't on any MTV network, we were on local TV out here. It was pretty big for the wrestling world, and so we definitely made our mark. People still talk about it. People bash it. Who cares about that? But it's the rest is history. And then, of course, the falling out of XPW, and then Kevin got back into it with WSX. So it's interesting stuff.
Steve here. He has a question. Have you heard anything about a second season for WSX?
Well, right now we're really just focused on the first, and that's going to be up to MTV at this point whether they want to pick us up or not for a second season. And it's I'll be honest, man, it's screwy how television works. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason why so many things happen. So we've gotten we're happy with the numbers we've gotten, especially going against head-to-head with ECW. Mm-hmm. And right now MTV is we're just kind of waiting in the wings. So I'm sure when we know, it'll be announced everywhere. So.
Do you think that's good going up against the ECW, or do you think it would have been better if they would have given it a time slot without any wrestling?
To me, it's. I'll be honest. The only thing I'm upset about is that we have repeats, and that's just the way MTV works with all their shows.
Right.
So to me, if we were only on once a week at the same time ECW was, I would be totally comfortable with that, because I think the product's going to speak for itself. I really do. I mean, I'm not bored with the show, and I'm just saying that as a fan. So I personally got confidence in the product, and going against ECW, I don't have a problem with that at all, especially with all the feedback everyone's kind of talking right now on the internet and everywhere else in the wrestling world. Everyone's opinion right now on ECW isn't the highest, so I really don't have. I'm just going off of what everybody's saying. I'm not talking about myself, because I do have friends that work in ECW.
Yeah, right.
I'm just going off of what I've been seeing and reading on the net. Everyone's opinion on the new ECW. But no, I don't have a problem with that at all, and I think it brings competition back. I think wrestling flourished back in the day where shows would go against each other, all of the Monday Night Wars. I think wrestling kind of needs that, and my only problem though is that we're rerun on MTV. If it was one show versus one show, I'm up for the challenge. I actually kind of like it. I mean, when I first heard it, I was like, wow, are you kidding? And then after I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? Actually, no, that's a ballsy fucking move. That's a ballsy-ass move. So, no, I'm cool with it.
You talked about the feedback. What kind of feedback do you get from, do you get feedback from the fans directly?
Yeah, and I do, and what... I don't know what it was. I mean, XPW was like the black sheep of wrestling. It really was. And the feedback that I have been getting is, wow, Kloss, you're doing great. Of course, there's people that bash me too. But, I mean, the honest truth is I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on my announcing. And it's like, you've really improved since the days of XPW. And to be honest, I'm doing the exact same thing I was doing in XPW.
Right.
So I think it's a little political with, whatever league you're working for is how good you're going to do or how good you are. And, that's the bullshit I just don't get into as far as, the wrestling. But, in the internet, whatever. But, we've been getting positive feedback. So, and I have personally too. So I welcome it. I thank everyone for telling me that. I'm just going to call it like I see it and just, call a match, as I see fit. So,
do you miss the suit and tie look?
To be honest, when back in the day when I would go in to do XPW, I would be wearing a concert T-shirt with some raggedy old shorts, and I'd have to go change outfits. So, to be honest, this is more my style, what I'm wearing now. It really is. But the suit and tie, I know, fit wrestling, but again, this is something that I'm new to as far as wrestling, but it's how I am in real life more so.
Are you a big Scorpions fan?
I'm the biggest Scorpions fan, yes. And I wonder why you ask, but yeah, I am. I'm a huge Scorpions fan. And new album coming out 2007. Check it out.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that one.
That's right, man.
Perhaps they could get the Scorpions and the Rock Orchestra with them, man.
That's right. Moment of Glory, man. Great album, dude. That's
right.
Put out in 2000, and the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra approached him in '95, and they didn't do it. And then 2 years later, Metallica came out with theirs. So had Scorpions jumped on it when they had the offer, they would have been, not what they're tagged as kind of a copycat to Metallica, where it was an unjustified tag. But anyway, rumor has it, we're just talking here in the office, looks like David Lee Roth is going to be back with Van Halen. They may be touring with the Scorpions, so that should be awesome. So we'll have to see what happens there, man. Get Mr. 80's Dynamite D after that show.
Awesome.
Oh, he was cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got a question from the board there, Inchman?
Let's see, I had one just a second.
Inch will have to play some Scorpions on this show.
There you go, man.
That'll be the lead-in for Kris Kloss.
Can't get enough of them.
Steve, he wants to know again, what were your favorite musical guests that you met or interact with during the filming of WSX?
I'd probably have to go with Jibbs. It was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hip-hop dude, and let's see, who else? Good Charlotte was really nice. They were cool guys.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, everybody was cool. You know, Zach Wilde, again, was really into it, and he's just funny. He's a funny guy, you know. He's cool, though. And I like his style of music, you know. But, yeah, I think for the most part, everyone was there just having a good time, and, you know, some guys are really humble, like Jibbs, and Pitbull was cool, you know. I mean, for the most part, they were all cool, doing their thing.
You said about Wrestling Society X, you know, to be put kind of like more of a sports show. What do you think of some of the over-top stuff, like the explosions?
Yeah, I mean, the explosions are kind of something that sets us apart from...
I personally like them. I find them fun.
Yeah, and I know some people are not used to them. I think your hardcore wrestling fans, though, are going to appreciate it. Especially hardcore wrestling fans that are, again, familiar with, synonymous with Japanese deathmatch wrestling, you know. That's why I personally like it. I mean, it's something that I've always been a huge fan of, and I remember seeing death matches, anything that was exploding that reminisced Japanese stuff. I always wanted to check it out and just be a part of it, and because it was such a treat. You never got to see it over here. You know, you had to always get the DVD. And you wish you could see more of it. And unfortunately, when you got the DVD, it was like, all right, watch it again. Same thing.
Right.
So I'm excited. Again, as a fan, I'll be honest, man, I'm excited about it because it's got a new twist to it, but it really comes from the roots. And I won't take anything away from where it started, and that was in Japan with all the death matches. So yeah, as a fan, I'm a fan of that stuff. So yes.
If MTV decided not to bring it back for season 2, do you think you guys could keep going forward with it?
I think so. I mean, I think right now, this is something that is getting out there. People are still, you know, warming up to it. They're still starting to find out about it as we speak. You know, in the wrestling world, everybody pretty much knows about it, but I think the mainstream, you know, it takes a little while for people to grasp something even after it had aired. So right now, MTV is doing a lot of great work for the WSX by just getting that name out there worldwide. And I think week after week, we just start getting bigger and bigger. It's going to be a lot easier for us to keep going. And I mean, I'm confident MTV is going to want to keep us around, but I don't think that would end the WSX though. No.
If someone wanted to know if what would be like your dream match to call?
Wow. I really never thought of that. Wow. Well, there's wow. Maybe Rudolph Schenker versus Klaus Meine, two of the Scorpions. No. Man, you know what? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I mean, I've had the honor already of calling matches with Terry Funk and you know, and Abdul the Butcher, and I mean that was great, man. And to be honest, I don't know. I mean, I want to, you know, I mean, there's so many guys in the past. I mean, if I could go back in a time machine, it'd be great to call like some of the matches between the Freebirds, the Von Erichs, you know. I mean, that's what I look at, you know, as my dream match. But today, I want to call a good match. You know, I know these guys. I've met them all. So to me, working in the business as a fan, like, oh, I don't need to call this guy or that guy. I just love calling a good match. And last week's match, I really enjoyed calling with Team Dragon Gate.
Oh yeah,
because they're just so fast, man. Especially Yoshino, and I just love calling stuff like that. Which is, I love calling stuff that isn't on TV right now. I love calling something new and fresh, and that really, that's something I really like. Again, and that's a good example of it. Again, last week's stuff with Team Dragon Gate.
Now, as you know, we had Eric Bischoff on here. He said, you know, you can't really try to be. You have to either try to be different than, better than, or you're going to be less than. And I think Wrestling Society X is definitely different than anything you see on TV. Which
Yeah,
we talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, that's why I'm confident in the product. I mean, my only concern now is just enough people know about it, enough people watch it. Because I just ask you, watch it once. You don't like it after that? Okay, so be it. But I just say watch it once and give it a chance, and then tell me what you think.
Is there anything you want to tell the fans out there before I let you go?
Well, I just want to say, thanks for watching, and again, Tuesday nights, 10:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m. Central, and this episode coming up it will prove to be by far the best episode to date. I'll go over the card one more time. The Trailer Park Boys versus the Filth and the Fury, Teddy Hart and M-Dog 20, Jack Evans versus El Hombre Blanco and Mascarado, Los Potros Guapos, Chaos and Aguilera versus Luke and Alcatraz in a tables, ladders, and cerveza match. And then after the show on WSX.mtv.com, it's going to be Matt Classic versus Scorpio Sky and the Trailer Park Boys versus DIFH. And again, this will be the best episode so far. And please log on to BigVisionEntertainment.com, and you can see some of the old XPW stuff. We just released the classic 80s Glow Women of Wrestling from the 80s. So that's some good stuff there. There's some hilarious stuff. And we also, yeah, exactly, tickle, and we also have a DVD out touching on the Von Erichs. It's called The History, the Heroes of World Class.
Yeah,
excellent
Von Erichs
DVD.
and the Rising. Yeah,
we're not just saying that because you're on here, but that's one of our favorite DVDs.
Yeah, I mean, we got a ton of wrestling stuff in the vault, but that's what I'm really sticking behind, man, is the Heroes of World Class. And it shows, the historic flair, Kerry Von Erich, Texas Stadium, the classic feud of the Freebirds, and it's got interviews with, everybody, Gary Hart, of course, Kevin Von Erich, Skander Agbar. I mean, it's awesome stuff. So, I definitely stand behind that. That's a BigVisionEntertainment.com. And again, just check out WSX Wrestling Society X every Tuesday night at 10:30 on MTV. You don't want to miss this.
Oh man, we really appreciate coming on here.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, man. And again, thanks again. It's my honor, man, my privilege. Thank you so much, guys.
Boom, this is the man, the myth, the legend, Jack Evans from the heavens, and you know what you are turned into, my friend. It's InYourHeadOnline.com, and you know this, man.
This is Supreme, and you're listening to InYourHeadOnline.com. Listen to it if you got the balls.